Today, we're looking at Krishna's Njaval. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Krishna's Njaval is a magenta ink. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I put the ink into a different pen for a day. I then put it into a D-like alpha with a medium nib to take my notes for this video. Now, before we get to the writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down, immediately put it in the water for 10 to 15 seconds, and we see this very nice pink at the bottom that pushes up, and then we start to see some reds, hints of some orange, and this really nice purple across the top. The one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And what we see is that there's a lot of purple and some reds that stayed along the bottom. That bottom line appears to have a little bit of, really it got into that filter paper quite quickly. The pink still pushes up, the red comes in at about the same point. We still see some of the oranges, but that purple at the top is a little more noticeable, although not as dark. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pens. Now, I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it handled it kind of okay. The amount of blooming that's occurred in this writing would make me really not want to use this and not feel comfortable using this in a note-taking situation. Water reactivated and lifted all of the darker, all of the reds and other tones, but that purple that stayed around on the second chromatography is still very there. I don't think that water is going to be quite enough to get this out of your pen. Pen flush basically only did what water did. So this is the worry moment to me, that maybe pen flush is not enough to get this out of your pen. In fact, it looks like more of the red is left behind than was with just the water. Quite odd. Bleach, as would be expected, completely removes it from the page. Now, this is a 1/3 bleach solution with only 30 seconds. And if you had to use bleach to get this out of your pen, I suggest using it quickly in, quickly out, and then immediately flushing your pen out so you don't rust any of the metal parts. For the inks I've tested, I've found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Krishna's Njaval has a viscosity of 2.38, making it normal. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper with the extra fine and medium nib. For the inks I've tested, I've found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Krishna's Njaval has an average dry time of 8 seconds, making this a very fast drying ink. Now, let's look at the writing samples. I picked this ink up in bottle form back when I ordered a whole bunch of their inks from them. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairefontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen. Beautiful shading going on here. Really, inside the K, you see it where it's dark and it's light, all inside the K. And then it becomes a darker magenta all the way through. Njaval starts dark, gets very light, gets dark again. Beautiful shading inside here. The extra fine gives us the same tones with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and really nice shading again. Not as dramatic in some of the areas as up in the 1.1, but still really nice shading where it's mostly dark, and then it gets to areas that are lighter, like all the way the top of Quick. Interesting, it's just lighter at the very tops of the Q, top of the U, top of the I. Nice. Over starts light and gets dark. Normally, if an ink's going to shade, I want it to shade a bit more than this, but this one looks fantastic. 5 seconds to dry. Now the medium, same tone,
no feather, spread, halo, sheen. It still offers the shading. It's still kind of difficult to see, but it is there. Like the bottom of the Q in quick is a little lighter. The O in brown is a little lighter. The bottom of the F, but I think that's where I put my thumb. So the O in over starts light and then it gets dark. Some nice shading going on here, very subtle. 7 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both show us no color variation, but we did see a little color variation up here. And the smear test, I believe you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Tomoe River, no bleeding. Of course we get some ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The exact same tone in extra fine with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. 8 seconds to dry. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. It's the same tone as the extra fine and the medium. It took 12 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both showed us no color variation. We didn't get it. The smear, I think you could recover this if you smeared it on Tomoe River. Rhodia, we have no bleeding. That's a spot from a page underneath. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen. It does offer some shading, like the top of the K is a little lighter than the rest of Krishna. The J and the L are a little bit lighter than the rest of Njaval. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and spots of shading, spots of lighter shading again, like the Y in lazy is a little lighter. The G in dog is a little bit lighter. The right side of the F into the O of fox is a little bit lighter. So we do get some spots that are not too bad. Trying to zoom in here a little bit, give you a better look at this. Come on, focus of the camera. There we go. 6 seconds to dry. Now the medium is a little darker tone with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade here at all. 9 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine and the medium show us no color variation. We did see some lighter spots in the extra fine and nothing in the medium. And the smear test, you'd likely be able to recover it if you smeared while you were writing. So up next is Hazel notebooks. Now these Hazel notebooks, I'm going to bring it up every time I come across one of these inks. Very nice paper. Very nice feeling. It's like a velour feeling. Very nice feeling on the notebook. I think these are great pocket notebooks. It did have a pen loop. I'd cut it off. I don't care for pen loops on notebooks. Very nice notebooks. I ordered those when I ordered the inks from them because since I was having to wait for it and since it was going to take so long, why not go ahead and get some of their notebooks? And it has been very worthwhile. That Hazel paper has no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is the exact same tone with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. It only took 2 seconds to dry. That's great for a carry-around notebook. Fantastic, especially given its performance. The medium is a slightly darker tone. No feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. 3 seconds to dry. On a carry-around notebook, great stuff. Really, truly great stuff. The scrubby for both showed us no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. The smear test, you could recover this if you smeared it. Another huge plus for a carry-around notebook. So this is black and red. No bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen. It has some shade spots, as in some spots that are just a little darker. The K starts a little darker and then it goes to a sort of standard medium tone. The A gets a little bit darker. The Njaval is that standard medium tone that it has, but the V is a little bit darker than the rest of the word. So there's spots that are slightly darker. In the extra fine, we have that standard medium tone all the way through, so the same tone we're seeing with the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and it has some shade, as in some of those dark spots again, like the H in the K in quick, the B in brown, the entire the before lazy, all a little bit darker than that standard medium of this tone we're seeing all the way through. And 3 seconds to dry. The medium nib gave us the darkest tone that we've gotten here. The medium gave no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. no shade at all, 5 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine, if you look far left to far right, you do see some color variation, which gets represented in some of the darker spots in the writing. The medium showed no color variation, we got none, and the smear test, you could recover it if you smeared it while you were writing. Strathmore calligraphy paper, this is a nice laid paper. This is a spot from a different ink coming up tomorrow. So if you can identify it from that, let me know. I don't know. No bleeding, no ghosting, really nice laid paper. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. It looks really nice here. Slightly darker tone with the extra fine, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 4 seconds to dry. Much darker tone with the medium, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 5 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine and medium showed us no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. And the smear test you could probably recover if you smeared while you were writing. And that is all that I have for the writing sample.
Instead of finding inks that look like Krishna's navel, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. And I was looking for a very nice gray and went with Krishna's Pencil. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Krishna's navel? This is a very interesting tone, and if you're a magenta lover, I think this is an ink that is truly worth trying. It does give some very nice and interesting shading in its writing. Thanks for watching.